and Xbox calls it a reset, and that sounds calm enough until you translate it into plain English. Plainly, this is a reckoning for expensive decisions made by executives who will never have to refresh LinkedIn in a panic. Tonight we are not looking at tweets, console war noise or rumor soup. Instead, we are looking at the paper trail Microsoft wished would stay inside the boardroom and away from public eyes entirely until now. Xbox spent billions, pushed confusing strategies, bought studios, changed messages, and workers may pay. Reuters reported planned Xbox layoffs after June 30th, with marketing and other budgets facing cuts. Bloomberg framed it as the first major restructuring under Asha Sharma, the Xbox chief who stepped in during February. Evidence matters more than theatrical fog here. We are breaking this into three parts: the $20 billion hole, the Game Pass pivot, and the hardware identity crisis. First, the hole explains why the reset stopped being optional. Second, the Game Pass pivot shows why the old promise started cracking. Third, the hardware mess shows why Xbox now needs the console to matter again after years of treating it like a side character. Corporate language wants you to hear discipline, realism, business health, and reset. Normal people hear something else. Somebody upstairs made the strategy messy, and somebody lower down may lose a job cleaning it up. Microsoft spent like a giant, talked like a platform prophet, and now acts shocked that the math has teeth. Workers did not create the 70-slide fantasy where Xbox became console, cloud subscription, PC platform, mobile doorway, publisher, hardware brand, and lifestyle slogan at once. Developers did not ask for every game to become fuel for a subscription graph. Marketers did not decide that everything is Xbox should be hammered into public memory until the actual Xbox box felt optional. Producers did not tell customers that hardware mattered, then did not matter, then mattered again. Support teams did not buy Activision Blizzard for nearly $69 billion. Leadership did. Accountability should start where the bets were made, not where the payroll is easiest to cut. Before we talk about slogans, we need to understand why teams are facing cuts in the first place. To see that, look at the numbers leadership is staring at behind closed doors. Memo numbers say the business ends the fiscal year around a 3% accountability margin. Excluding Activision Blizzard King, the same memo says Xbox spent over $20 billion over 5 years on content, platform work, and hardware subsidy. Annual revenue, according to that memo, fell by nearly $500 million in that period. Simple version, money poured out, revenue moved the wrong way, and the company now wants credit for becoming serious. Let that sink in. 20 billion out, $500 million less coming in. Any other business would call that an emergency, not a reset with better lighting. Possibly the reset helps. Arguably, it was necessary. Yet nobody should pretend this is just weather rolling through the office. Layoffs come after choices. Several choices were market pressure. Other choices were boardroom ambition wrapped in buzzwords. Game developer tracked Microsoft's gaming layoff pattern after the Activision Blizzard merger, including 1,900 roles in 2024 and another 650 later. Tango Gameworks made Hi-Fi Rush, a game people actually liked. And even that studio became part of the earlier Xbox cleanup conversation. Remember that contrast because it is the human part hiding behind the spreadsheet. Fans saw a praised studio become expendable, and that made every future promise about supporting creators sound weaker. Praise does not save you. Goodwill does not save you. Quality does not always save you. Apparently, surviving corporate strategy roulette takes more than making something players enjoy. Behind every sterile cut are teams who had names, routines, jokes, deadlines, and plans for next month. Those people have rent, families, medical bills, careers, and private terror behind polite farewell posts. Meanwhile, executives keep finding softer words for hard consequences. Game Pass is the next wound because Xbox sold it like the future and then had to face the boring math. For years, the pitch trained players to expect huge games inside a monthly fee. Everyone liked the fantasy because it sounded like cheating the system. Unfortunately, systems collect payment eventually. Reports said Microsoft lowered Game Pass prices in April and removed future Day 1 Call of Duty releases from the service. Translation: the biggest shooter on earth was not a forever coupon. Sure, the memo says Game Pass began growing again after months of decline. Fine, price changes can bring people back. However, that only makes the old promise look weaker. Subscriptions can be useful. Value can be real. But a subscription does not turn $69 billion into pocket change. Netflix already taught everyone this lesson. At first, the deal feels magical, then the catalog gets messy, then prices move, then the customer starts asking why the magic now needs a calculator. Activision Blizzard became the perfect symbol, not because it alone caused this, but because it made the scale impossible to ignore. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Candy Crush are massive properties. Buying them gave Xbox power. Owning power also creates pressure. When you spend empire money, you do not get to cry like a tiny studio when the bill arrives. Asha Sharma called the Activision Blizzard deal valuable, but admitted it was made for a different era, before AI exploded and before Xbox shifted away from console focus. Buried inside that phrasing is the confession. Company bought for one world, then started managing in another. Strategies changed. Markets shifted. Employees got stuck between yesterday's promise and today's correction. Overextended is the key corporate word. Please do not glide past that. Overreach is not bad luck. Overextension means leadership built a machine with too many jobs and no focus. Redmond spent years saying the console was less important because Xbox could be anywhere. Cloud was the future. Personal computers were Xbox. Mobile was Xbox. Televisions were Xbox. Everything with a screen was apparently Xbox if the slogan needed a win. Then the memo says console sits at the center of the showcase experience and Gears of War, E-Day plus Clockwork Revolution are named as console exclusives. Abruptly, the box matters again. You cannot teach customers that the hardware is optional, then act wounded when loyalty becomes optional too. Competition makes that even sharper. Sony and Valve have their own problems. Price pressure, delays, angry players, and corporate nonsense. Neither spent the last 5 years telling people their hardware was optional, while also needing that hardware to carry brand identity. That contradiction belongs to Xbox. Optional hardware creates optional loyalty, and optional loyalty is a terrible foundation when the market gets rough. Marketing cuts turn the whole thing into dark comedy. Reportedly, marketing budgets are among the areas facing significant reductions. Great plan. Make the brand difficult to explain, then cut the people whose job is explaining it. Slogans like, "This is an Xbox," may have sounded clever in a meeting. Outside that room, many players heard a company trying to be profound about a box. After years of that, exclusives returning sounds less like bold focus and more like a parent reversing the car after pretending the road was fine. Forums already smell blood. Reddit, etc., NeoGAF, and other gaming spaces are full of sarcasm, anger, exhaustion, and console war sewage. Hidden under the noise is a real audience pulse. Gamers have watched the cycle for years. Buy studios, promise growth, cancel projects, cut staff, announce lessons, repeat. Eventually, new direction stops sounding brave. Suddenly, it sounds like the GPS was dropped in a toilet. Pattern is not only Xbox either. Big tech loves the same ritual. Grow fast, hire big, buy bigger, discover discipline, cut workers, praise resilience, and ask everyone to clap for responsible leadership. Currently, Xbox just happens to be the loudest gaming version right now. Balance matters here, because Xbox does have real pressure. Official memo language says console storage costs more than doubled from last fall, doubled again after February, and could reach 5 times the price paid 2 years earlier by the 2027 holiday season. Component costs are not fake outrage. Rising storage prices can hurt hardware plans, force price changes, and squeeze margins. Rivals are not immune to that storm. Yes, parts got expensive. No, that does not magically explain why the entire brand needed therapy. Hardware pressure makes today harder, but it does not erase years of mixed messaging. Games also cost more now. Audiences are harder to hold. Blockbusters take longer. Membership models are tricky. Streaming has not replaced local play for most people. All of that is fair. None of that excuses turning Xbox into a fog machine and calling the smoke strategy. Audience deserves the clean chain of evidence. 1. Reports say layoffs and marketing cuts are coming after June 30th. 2. Xbox's memo shows weak margin, huge spending, falling revenue outside Activision Blizzard King, and hardware cost pressure. 3. Game Pass changed after months of decline, with future Day 1 Call of Duty no longer treated the same way. 4. The company admits the studio system became overextended. 5. Workers face consequences while leadership language tries to make the whole thing sound like renewal. There is the breakdown. Not vibes, zero mythology. Never a 15-minute fog bath about the soul of gaming. Just facts, claims, and the ugly pattern between them. Management wanted Xbox to become everything everywhere, and now it needs focus. Players do not need another reset speech. They need games worth buying, studios with stable direction, honest value, and one clear reason to care. Give people a console worth owning, or admit the console is secondary. Offer Game Pass as a clear deal, or stop acting like every downgrade is a blessing. Protect teams, or stop pretending culture matters when cuts arrive. Respect customers, or accept that customers will treat every new promise like another temporary slogan. Maybe this reset is the painful correction Xbox needed. Perhaps the exclusives land, Game Pass steadies, hardware plans improve, and the brand finally speaks like normal human beings. Still, anger is earned because the pattern is familiar. Staff absorb damage while leaders announce lessons. Customers get the future while the present shakes. Studios get called important until the next budget meeting. Final question is simple. Which promise breaks next? The hardware, the day one games, or the everything is Xbox slogan? Drop that in the comments, because the audience might understand the problem better than the people who built it. Above all, Xbox does not need another reset button. Right now, Xbox needs to stop pressing every button at once.